It's all yours, Jo. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you so much, Saskin. Thank you. And thank you everyone for bearing with me this is a new platform for me. So yeah, I'm delighted that my presentation is now up and I will jump in to it now. So I hope the fact that you're here today, you at least know the name of UCL, and I hope that by the end of the presentation, you'll know a lot more about us. That's the idea anyway. So one thing that you may know, I hope you know, is that we have an excellent reputation. We are known to be one of the world's top universities, and we're delighted at the moment to be in the top 10. This is the QS University World Rankings, which is a very highly regarded rankings table. And as you can see from that slide, we are there with some really top names as well. So the fact that we're in the same list as those institutions makes us very proud indeed, particularly just to say that we are a very different type of institution to most of those on that list. So most of those are private institutions, or they are much smaller specialist institutions. We are a very large institution and we are publicly funded. So the fact that we can make that list makes us particularly proud. And the thing about UCL to know is that whether you are an undergraduate or indeed later a graduate, we are well known for the quality of both our teaching and our research, and that's important, and that's why we make it to a list like that. So some things to think about in terms of why UCL might be one of your choices that you could consider. I think a key thing that I like to highlight is just the fantastic things we are doing to try and tackle some of the world's great problems. So at UCL, we have experts in so many different fields. Like I just said, we are a comprehensive institution. That means that we have experts working across a whole range of different disciplines. Many of them are the leading experts in their field, who are working out of UCL and continuing their research whilst with us. And they are not just doing research for research's sake. They are often just trying to tackle some of these really important problems and challenges which the world is facing. So whether that's climate change or COVID-19 or dementia or water shortage, or any other subject you can almost think of, UCL academics are likely to be working on those sorts of things, often together across disciplines. So coming together with their different expertise, their different knowledge to tackle some of these problems together. It's important to be reminded perhaps that there's always more than one way of looking at a problem, and that often our own way of looking at something is influenced by the background from which we come, our academic backgrounds, what we've learnt, what we know to be true from what we have learnt in a subject. But sometimes pooling all those different ideas together, from bringing different disciplines together, that's what can have the best outcome, and can mean that some really tricky problems we can actually find or start to find solutions. So I'm incredibly proud to be part of UCL, where we are doing such incredible work. The researchers and the academics, the professors are doing such amazing things and really making a difference. And I think that makes a very exciting, buzzing place. And here's just an example of some of the things that, some of the ways that our research is making headlines. This is happening almost every day of the week, certainly in the UK media, but also across the world too. You will see the name UCL in printed materials, online, in articles. You will hear the name UCL on the radio, in podcasts, on the TV. So our experts are there talking about their discoveries, and it's wonderfully exciting, and nothing can quite prepare you for the fact that UCL is just, you hear that name all around when you work for them, like I do, or when you're a student. So you're really kind of tuned into the UCL, just hearing UCL, you realize how much you hear it. And again, it's just it blows my mind every single day to just think that this is what's happening at UCL. All this research, which is just having such wonderful impact across the world. Another thing I like to highlight in terms of UCL is that we're a rather different type of institution to other universities. We're very proud of that. We're proud of the basis on which we were formed back in 1826, and it follows through today. We're still a rather different institution, we think, to other places. What made us different from the very beginning was that we were founded on the basis that education should be open and available freely to everyone. Everyone who can take advantage of it should be allowed to study. At the time in England, in the 1820s, there were only two universities, that's Oxford and Cambridge. They had a very narrow curriculum, so theology or the classics, and they were only open to the very wealthy, people who were practicing members of the church, and to those who were male. So unless you hit those three criteria, you couldn't study at university in England. The door was very firmly closed. And UCL was founded, as I say, on the principle that that was fundamentally not fair. There should be equality of opportunity, no matter what a person's background. So I'm proud to say that UCL was the first university to open its doors to students from any religious background or no religious background, and any social background. So it didn't matter whether you were very wealthy or not, you could still come and study at UCL. And we were also the first university to open its doors on equal terms to women. It did take us a little bit longer, but we were still the first ones to do that in the 1870s. So that's the background. That's the type of institution we were at the time. It was an incredibly radical thing to do. Other institutions, other people looked at us and wondered what we were thinking of. But actually, fast forward nearly 200 years, and of course, equal opportunity, opportunity for everyone. These are principles which everyone would agree is a good thing. So we were just radical and ahead of our time in coming to that idea first. I talked about us being a comprehensive institution. Here's the sorts of groupings of subjects that we have. We put these together, and there are 11 of them. We call them faculties. So that's really subject groupings. You'll see from those subject groupings that most things are covered. So it's always the case that it's easier to say what we don't teach at UCL than what we do teach. So we have these 11 faculties of study. Underneath that, 72 different departments. And underneath that, more than 420 discrete undergraduate programs. So, and you would be applying to a particular program. That's the way that it works. Yes, you will find out more about the faculties, the departments, and the programs on our website, which I would certainly encourage you to go and have a look at. So lots of different students studying lots of different things and lots of different research going on, as I've mentioned. One thing that all of our subjects, no matter what they are, and all of our programs have in common is this, and that's that we're not in the business of telling you exactly what you should be thinking about any particular issue, problem, subject. What we want you to become is critical thinkers, to learn how to think, how to develop your ideas, how to articulate those ideas, and to do so in a supportive environment. And that's what we aim to do at UCL. We encourage you to actively take part in classes. We keep our class size small so that you feel able to do that, able to speak up. We have one of the best ratios of academic staff, so professors, to students, and that's 1 to 10. And what that means is that we can keep our class sizes small, even though we're this very, very large institution. We can keep our class sizes small, and that's something we would always want to do because, as I said, it's so fundamental to the way that we teach. So in these small groups, which we tend to call seminars or tutorials, you will be, you could be with 12 or 14 other students and a professor, and you will then at that point be talking about an issue which you may have covered in a lecture, which would be a much larger class. But yeah, that would always be supplemented by this small group teaching, where perhaps you read something and come with your own opinions about it, or if you're doing a STEM subject, you might be doing, working on a problem together, something practical related to a lecture that you've had. And the other thing that I like to emphasize is that our curriculum is dynamic and always changing, and it connects always back to the research that's coming out of the department. So it's what we call our connected curriculum. And it keeps things fresh. It means that you are, hearing from the professor who's been on the radio talking about, her new book or research. You may be hearing about that, just in advance of that in a lecture or in a seminar. So incredibly exciting place to be, and highly relevant with what you're hearing around you on a daily basis. So a little bit now about life at UCL, what you can expect as a UCL student. And there's lots of good stuff to talk about here. First of all, I'm just setting the scene with this map, I hope, or aerial shot, to show you that we really do have this central London location. Some of you may have been lucky enough to visit London in the past. Many of you may not have been to London. So you'll have to, you'll have to take my word for it that this area is central London. But also, I hope you can see from that image that, we are in an urban environment. So this is not somewhere surrounded by fields in the middle of nowhere. This is central London. And I think that has an enormous number of benefits, which I'll talk about shortly. But the map, the image is paused here, having shown where the UCL campus is. Now, the items which are marked on the map, these are 3 stations, railway stations. They are all within a 10-minute walk from our campus. And the reason I wanted to pause here is because it shows how well connected both London is and also UCL in particular. So from these 3 stations, you can travel far and wide and in a short time. So Euston Station and King's Cross Station, trains there will take you up the east or the west coast of England, up into Scotland, so into Glasgow or Edinburgh, via places like Newcastle and York, or Manchester. These are places you can get to very easily. I say just a 10-minute walk to the station. And the station in the middle, St Pancras, now that's the station from which you can catch a train from St Pancras, and 2 hours later you can step off that train and be in Paris, France, and then you have the whole of Europe at your feet. So this is a wonderful, I think, just visual kind of demonstration of how well connected London is, and specifically the area where we are in UCL. London is this global hub, and you will have access to that. All roads are leading out of London and into London. So it's a great place to be based whilst you're a student. I've talked about us being this large institution. Let me just put some numbers to that, some figures. So 50,000 students, that's our total student body now. Roughly half of those are undergraduate students, as you would all be, and half of them are then doing masters or PhD. Of our total student body of 50,000, about 52% are international students, so students who come from outside the United Kingdom. And they come from 153 different countries. So we're a very large institution, as those numbers will tell you. However, what I want to stress now is that this is not an anonymous institution. This is not somewhere where you will feel like 50,000 students are surrounding you at all times, and it can be overwhelming. You will nevertheless be part of a very tight community. No matter which program you join, no matter which department you are part of, you'll be part of that program or that department. There will be a building where that department lives or is based, where the program is based. You will gravitate towards that building. There will always be people who know you, friendly faces, people you recognize, who know your name, your face. Your professors will be based there. They will have doors that you can knock on and go and see. The administrative support will be there. They will also know you and be able to help you with things as you go along. So you will definitely feel part of a much, much, much smaller community than the entire UCL population. And that's important because we do look after our students and we want you to feel part of that. valued and supported, and with a network of people around you who can help you through any issue that you may encounter, academic or non. So I hope that reassures you that it's actually not an anonymous environment. And also what I said earlier about those small group classes, again, these are not just the fact that you're going to be in huge classes and no one will know you, but the small group teaching also means that you'll feel part of that and get to know people very well. There are two other ways that you will have a network, and that's important to realize too, one of which is where you live. So you'll be living again within a community, and you will get to know people in your apartment or on your corridor very well. And the third group, your third sort of network and community, will be the clubs and societies that you join. And I'll speak about that just in a moment. Onto the housing. So we guarantee housing for our first year students, all first year students. We have 26 different residences, which we own and manage. And we will guarantee you a spot in one of those. Mostly they are self-catered accommodation. That means that there is a shared kitchen where you can make meals either for yourself or alongside your friends that you make, or you can go to nearby restaurants, including on campus. We have dining facility on campus, which many students enjoy eating there. So self-catering is definitely the main type of housing. There are three of our residences which come with a meal plan attached, and that will provide a breakfast and an evening meal, and brunch and an evening meal at the weekend. So the type of accommodation that also varies, not just in terms of the catering arrangements, but also so most people would live in a single study bedroom. That's the norm. There are very few shared rooms. If you particularly want a shared room, you have to ask for that, request it. The facilities will vary a bit. Some rooms have their own bathrooms. Some are in apartment style living. Some are on corridors. Those are older buildings, mainly, that have been repurposed as student residences over the years. Do take a look at our website, though, and find out more about what we offer. And the price range obviously varies quite a lot depending on type of facilities and, yes, what it is that you're looking for. So do take a look on our accommodation website. And now a little bit about the great city of London, which surrounds us on all sides at UCL. University. You walk through the main gates of the UCL campus, and there are two other entrances and exits to our campus. So you do have a feeling of being part of the university community, which is lovely, which is great. But look in any direction and you realise that, yes, we are in the heart of London. And it's that mix of a campus feel, but with the benefits of London literally on the doorstep, which our students tell us they value almost, more than anything else. It's a very, very compelling mix. And I certainly think it's a wonderful environment to work. And as I say, our students enjoy studying there too. The benefits of London itself are many and various. They range from academic benefits. So, as a member of UCL, you then have access to libraries at all the other University of London institutions. So whether that's SOAS or King's or LSE or Queen Mary, you can go to those university libraries and use them if you so wish. There are also some shared facilities for students. London has a huge student population of more than 400,000 students. So students are important to London. They are highly valued. They have great pulling power. And it means that, there are student discounts, for example. You have access to, discounts at cinemas and theatres, shops, some restaurants, on public transport. So students are very, very important and key to London's economy. And so it's a great place to be a student. So there are many other students there, and you have many different advantages. There are also advantages such as, connections. London is a global hub, as I've talked about, so you can get easily anywhere and come back to London. London is a very international city as a result, perhaps, of that. A very outward-looking city. you will be amongst people from all over the world who are calling London their home, either for a short period or a longer period of time. Many companies, organizations, businesses have London as their headquarters. It means it's incredibly powerful in terms of making connections, thinking of future employment, and building a network, perhaps getting work experience whilst you're a student, working in the summer vacation. We have long summer vacations. 3 months internships are often what our students are looking for and manage to get. That's a wonderful way of getting experience and, as I say, making those connections. London is a financial hub, a political hub, a fashion hub, media hub, legal hub. Lots of industries call London their home, and it makes it a very exciting place to be. And there's simply not enough hours in the day to enjoy all the cultural and social benefits that London has to offer too. So I hope that just whets your appetite a little bit as to what London can offer. I talked about the clubs and societies. That's going to be your third network of people that you meet whilst you're at UCL, and we encourage you actively to take part in those and get involved. I've just brought together a small list of some of our offerings of clubs and societies. The list itself is more than 320 now, so it would take considerably longer for that list to scroll through. So I've just chosen a few which stand out to me. I understand from the Students' Union, which runs and operates all these clubs, 2 really popular clubs and societies this September, when the academic year started, were the Entrepreneurship Society and also the Bubble Tea Society. Those were 2 which had a long line of people waiting to talk to the societies and sign up for those clubs. But we have many other clubs, as you can see. And as I say, we actively encourage you to take part. UCL is definitely not an institution which is looking for students who want to spend the whole time in the library. So I hope that's good news and music to your ears. We think if you did that, if you only came and studied your subject and didn't do anything else, you would be missing out on a terrific number of opportunities and benefits of being a UCL student. So we want you to take advantage of what you can. And grab those opportunities with both hands. We think that there are tremendous benefits that come from that, not least the soft skills that you will learn. So knowing your subject is important, of course, but also it's the other skills, and the other skills, the transferable soft skills, like time management, like working as part of a team, like getting involved in things, thinking on your feet, being adaptable and flexible. All those sorts of things are often ones that you would develop, outside of the classroom, and by doing things like getting involved with clubs. And it's those very skills which are so highly prized and valued by employers typically. So we give you a lot of advantages. We hope that you will take them and get involved. We want you to do well when you graduate from us. We know that we have students joining us from all over the world who will then leave us and go and work all over the world. So our graduates are typically, highly mobile, very global, globally minded, certainly, and perhaps going to be taking up jobs, at any point in the world. So we have an amazing career service that can help you develop your skills, know how to sell your skills, to upskill, to write a CV, to get experience, to network, to start to network, and to understand where your strengths are and how you can play to those best when it comes to looking for a job. So lots and lots of help and support, which is not just relevant to when you're in your final year of your studies, but actually right from the beginning of joining us. So we have a rolling program of events with employers coming onto campus, and we encourage you to take part in that. We also look after you very much. That's really important that we do so, of course, and we want you to know that. We have programs on arrival for you. For all international students will join our international orientation program. We also have a transition program for all our new students, whether they're domestic or international. And that's just to help with the transition between high school and university, which can be, a bigger step than people realize. So we buddy you up with someone in an upper class from one of the the program that you're on, and that will be your go-to person to ask about anything, whether it's a homework issue, or where to buy a SIM card for your mobile phone, or which is the best supermarket to make your money go further, whatever that may be. So that transition buddy mentors scheme is very popular and runs for the whole of the first term. You will also have a personal tutor. That's someone in your academic department who will be your go-to person for anything academic. And they also have a whole network of people that they can mobilize and signpost to you should you need help on any aspect, whatever it is. If you're having a problem with your accommodation, if you need some counselling support, whatever it may be, we have those support services in place. And your personal tutor is a really good starting point to help you know where to go, where to find the help that you need. And finally, just a little bit about what we're looking for. So some of the sorts of traits that we find in students who come and are successful at UCL are there. It's definitely somewhere where we want you to be a critical thinker, and I talked about that earlier, and develop your skills, to be a proactive learner, self-directing your own study, and being independently minded, and not being afraid to ask for help when you need it. That's important too. There are people there that can help you academically and otherwise. You just need to ask the question, and I think you'll find people very supportive. And then academically, in terms of our application process, we are UCL, and we do that. It does mean that we attract a large number of applications, which makes us competitive. But that's not to say that we're impossible to get into by any means. We have, a growing number of students who apply to us with Canadian credentials and who are successful in getting offers, and then who join us, which is fantastic. And we look forward to receiving many more applications going forward. What we're looking for does vary depending on the exact program that you're interested in. But typically it's 6th grade 12 subjects that we are looking at, with a certain percentage point in each of those 6. So it's not an average that we need at UCL, but rather a percentage mark in each of 6. So, and that percentage mark will vary depending on the program, between 86 and 96, but typically I would say most of them would be looking for either 90% or 93% in 6th grade 12 subjects. You'll find details of what the program you're interested in wants, and any particular subjects at grade 12 that we would need on our online catalogue. So I'd certainly encourage you to go and have a look at that after today. And that's really what I was going to say. There's a QR code there, which by if you take a snap of that, there's a short form to fill in, which will mean that you will then join our mailing list and receive all the information from us about applications, about scholarships, about deadlines, whatever else it may be, information about UCL. So please feel free to fill that in should you want to. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, and hopefully then I will come back to you. You see me again here. And I think now's the time that we could jump into the Q&A section, and hopefully there's some questions that you've been thinking of while I've been talking, and we can, try and address those for you.
Thank you so much, Joe, for such an informative session from UCL. We got a couple of questions in Q&A. So what I will do is that I'm going to read some of them. Since you already started talking about the application time, application deadlines, and all those checklists, one of the questions which came in is when is the earliest time an admission decision can be received by the student?
Okay, good question. So it's important to understand that the UCAS, which is the system for which you will be applying for the UK, for UCL and other institutions, they have an equal consideration deadline, and that is the 26th of January. And what that means is we need to ensure that We don't just give priority to those people who apply early and give them a quick decision, because we need to make sure that the applications that arrive right the way through until on that very deadline of the 26th of January, we still can give them equal consideration. That means we haven't filled all our places up. So for an institution like UCL, which receives more applications than most universities, you may find that decisions on your application take considerably longer than you may expect, or indeed than some other institutions which don't get as many applications as we do. So our main season for making applications is in March. So whether you're applying in November or at the deadline of the 26th of January, you may find that you don't hear from us until into March. So that's just something to bear in mind. We're not ignoring you. We're not doing anything. We're just gathering all the applications together to deal with it in the fairest possible way so that we can give everyone the due consideration. I hope that helps.
Thank you so much. The next question, which is in the line, is the curriculum adaptable for international students? So I'm pretty sure that they are referring to the OSSD curriculum with respect to the curriculum at UCL.
Okay, yeah. So our requirements we have worked very hard on the equivalences. So we know what we require from our domestic students in the UK, and that's our kind of baseline. That's our entry requirements, our minimum requirements. We then worked hard to work out equivalences for all the different curricula that we accept at UCL. So whether it's the Canadian curriculum, any one of the provincial diplomas, whether it's AP exams, IB, whatever country a curricula is, we have made equivalences, and we quite carefully are transparent about what those requirements are. So you can find on any page of our online catalogue, you can look up the subject you're interested in, perhaps it's management, and you can see there, okay, I'm a student, the Canadian curriculum, what are the requirements for the UCL management program? And what you need to be thinking when you read that is that's a non-negotiable entry point. So if you are, a student who's getting, 86% in your OSSD grade 12 courses, and our management program requires 90%, then that's not a good match. And therefore, you should be realistic about the choices that you make and really only be applying to universities where you are going to meet the minimum entry requirements. If you meet them, though, it's important to understand that's not the end of the story, particularly for the most competitive institutions like UCL. That gets you over the first hurdle, and it means that we will then read holistically the rest of your application and make a decision. But you do need to be meeting those minimum entry requirements, and yeah, that's not going to be negotiable. I say we're transparent about it. We publish them, and we hope that you will then read them and understand what that means.
That's great. Thank you so much. And I think that one of the questions did come in around those lines, that if they are short of that percentage, you mentioned 90%. So if they are like, let's suppose at 88%, is there any possible way for them to improve their application?
So if you have already taken some grade 12 courses and you have, final marks of 88, 87, 88, 89, and you're not going to be taking many more grade 12 courses, then I think, realistically and honestly, it would not be what I would advise you not to apply to UCL if you're not going to meet the entry requirements, because you only have 5 choices, and that would be for you a waste of a choice. If you will quite quickly, we will see that you don't meet our requirements, you will be on the unsuccessful pile. I think it's important, though, to know that at the point when you apply, you haven't yet completed your grade 12 courses, and there will probably be quite a few courses that you have yet to complete. What we will look at then is not your actual mark, because you won't have one. We will look at the predicted mark, the mark that the school, the counsellor says that you are predicted to finish up grade 12 with. And even if you haven't finished at the point when you apply, if you're predicted to reach that 90% in enough subjects, then yes, we would still consider you and we would read on your application. But if you've already taken or the predictions are under what we're looking for, then that's when it can get tricky. And that's when I would encourage you to look elsewhere.
That's great. Do the international students have part-time job opportunities in the campus to gain some valuable experience?
Yeah, great question. And yes, so most international students are coming to us on a student visa. A visa is a requirement to enter the United Kingdom. On that visa, you are permitted to work, so that's the good news, up to 20 hours per week during the term time, during semester time, and full time during the vacation time. So actually it's quite flexible and does allow you to do that. And you can work either on the campus or off the campus with a job. So yes, it's perfectly possible. Some students do it either to earn a little bit of money, but also, of course, to gain some valuable experience. Examples of jobs on campus might be in the library, might be in one of the cafes. Off campus might be in, a shop or another cafe or restaurant. So yes, it's perfectly possible. I don't think you'd be wanting to work 20 hours a week, though. That would be too much alongside full-time study. But maybe between 7 and 9 to 10 hours you might manage.
That's great. The next one is about co-op. Do the international students? The first question is: do international students have the option for co-op? And if so, how flexible is the schedule when they do the co-op?
Okay, so this is something I'm often asked about by students who are either based in Canada or who are doing Canadian curriculum, just because it's a very familiar thing that you hear about, don't you, co-ops. So right off the bat, so we don't have integrated, so we don't have the term co-op in the UK. We call them internships. And at UCL in particular, we don't have integrated internships into our bachelor's programs. So our programs tend to be 3 years long, so it's one less year. And it's quite intense in terms of the study, so you're focusing on your academic studies. So building an integrated internship into already quite a busy schedule can be a challenge. Instead, what we do is we encourage our students to take these internships during their vacation. You do have a long summer vacation, typically from the end of May until the end of September. So it's possible to take, for example, a 3-month internship and still have time for a vacation as well. And our connections with, employers, both in London and beyond, is second to none, I would say. And many of our students are therefore successful in gaining these internships, which can be hugely valuable in terms of experience and can sometimes also lead on to actually job offers on graduation. So although it's not built into our program, absolutely we have those opportunities, and absolutely international students take advantage of them.
So I'm just going to ask a follow-up question from there. What does a career path usually look like for someone that graduated from UCL?
I think the good news or the top line story is our students tend to be very successful in what they do. We make our selection of students very carefully. When they come to us, students tend to do very well academically. They therefore graduate with a strong degree, a strong finish up strongly, and because they come from UCL with its high regard, that's like a sign of quality. So employers will understand that if you're a UCL graduate, you're at a certain level, and that's a high level. So that sends all sorts of signals to employers. So our students are typically very, very successful in gaining employment across a whole range of sectors. Many students choose to go on and study masters and then perhaps on to PhD, either with us or other institutions. They may join a company. They may go on to sort of a training contract, so things like do a law conversion course, which is possible after graduation. Join one of the key businesses in the financial sector in London, one of the management consultancies, NGOs, lots and lots of different areas that our students go into, typically are very successful in that.
That's great. Thank you. This question is academic based. So I have seen one of the program requirements of the medicine course is to have senior mathematics courses. So should I get the the STEM courses at high school, or should I stick with social sciences?
Right. So I'm glad someone's asked about medicine. Kind of glad. It's a really tricky one for me to answer because there's some bad news coming the way of anyone who's taking a Canadian high school diploma, and that is that UCL Medical School will not accept Canadian or any other international curricula from the other 150 odd countries that our students come from. They only will accept the IB, the International Baccalaureate, or the A levels, which is the UK domestic. This is for medicine only. So if you're a student who wants to study medicine, that's not going to work at UCL. Try one of the other 40 medical schools in the UK. Many of them will accept students with the OSSD, just not UCL. We accept the OSSD for every other program. And just to explain why that might be, I know that's sometimes a bit like, why wouldn't medicine accept it? Doesn't make sense. We only have 24 places for international students at UCL to study medicine. It's the most competitive of all our competitive programs. That number is capped by the government. It's the only one which is capped. So we can't increase that number, even though we would love to. So 24 spots from students around the world. Our way of dealing with that small number with so much interest is to say we want students to come in with the same curriculum background, so that, you know, for this particularly rigorous program, which medicine is, we know that we know exactly what maths or what biology or what chemistry students have done, because they're coming from a particular curriculum. So that's why. But any other subject is fine. So I'm sorry to disappoint you about medicine.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that clarification. The next set of questions are about accommodation. Which university accommodation is best for first-year students? Can a student choose a roommate when they are selecting the housing?
Great questions. So let's start with the last bit. Yes, you can choose a roommate if there's someone who's also going to UCL. If you would both say that you want to room with the other one on the application, and the likelihood is that you would get a shared room together. So that's good news. In terms of which is the best one, they're all very different. 26 different residences, all have their own sort of unique atmosphere and community and environment. And you know, typically you'll love where you are, wherever it is that you end up. We actually don't make it possible for students to choose which of the residents they want to go into. What we ask you to think about is what is the priority about where you live. So what's the one most important thing about the residence that UCL assigns you to? Is it that you want to be, you know, very close to the campus? Or is it that you want your own bathroom? Or is it that you want a meal plan attached? Or is it that you want to share a room or to have, you know, the cheapest type of room? So it's the priority that we ask you for, and we then use that. We've got quite a sophisticated computer program which will take those priorities and which will randomly then assign people to residences. We don't put all international students together in one residence. We mix it up so you could be, you know, with people from studying different things from different parts of the world, and that's what, you know, that's what makes, we think, the best living environment. So
that's awesome. How many roommates will I have if I choose the accommodation provided by the school?
So we most of more than 90% of all our accommodation is single study bedrooms. So you'll be living on your own. You'd have your own bedroom. Either that would be one bedroom within an apartment style. So you might have 4 or 5 other students who each have their own room, and then you have a shared kitchen and a shared bathroom. Or many of our residences are the older style of converted old buildings. And that means they are then corridor, what I call corridor style. So you have individual study bedrooms all along a corridor, yeah. So, and then at each end you might have shared bathrooms and shared kitchens. And there, you know, a corridor could be 20 people perhaps, or it depends how long the corridor is, how big the residence is. But you know, typically there'll be anything from, you know, 100 to the largest residence is 400 or 500 people living in that particular residence, and you'll have opportunities to meet and socialize with them too, no matter, you know, which corridor or which apartment you're living in.
That's great. A couple of more questions about just general questions. What is the cost of schooling and living in UCL?
Yep, great question. So tuition is one element. That's the main element, the major element. That varies on the program. There's a sort of band range of between £26,000 sterling up to about £35,000 sterling. And for the Canadian dollar equivalent, you want to multiply by 1.5 to get the Canadian dollars. So maybe $40,000 up to about $55,000 is the range, depending on whether you're doing a STEM subject, which will be at the higher end range, or humanity or social science down the lower range. That's the tuition fee for each year of the program. Remember, each program is typically 3 years long, so 3 times that. And then you've got your living costs on top of that. And it's quite difficult to think about how much someone will spend, because what one person thinks is realistic to spend on food, or spend on entertainment, or spend on travel, going away every weekend, is different to the next person. But I think in general, for things like food, laundry, travel around the local area, London, books and supplies, all those sorts of things. If you do it over an academic year, somewhere between about £13,000 up to about £17,000, something like that. So again, times by 1.5 to get the Canadian. That's typically what the costs would be.
The next one is, there is no interview for most programs at UCL. How does UCL evaluate applicants' academic skills, such as critical thinking?
Yeah, great. That's a really great question. Very, very thoughtful. Very good. So you're right. Whoever asking the question is right. We don't have interviews for most of our subjects, simply because we have so many applications. We would spend the whole year, all of the staff at UCL would spend the whole year interviewing people, and clearly we don't have that option, that luxury. So we have to base our decisions on the application, the written application. Having looked at whether you meet the minimum entry requirements, we then read the whole application. The personal statement is the key piece which you have control over, or you can help influence the decision. There we're looking for evidence that you have thought clearly about the program you want to study, you know what's involved, that you've taken steps beyond the classroom to understand that subject and develop your knowledge further. That you give us a couple of examples reflecting on either something you've read, something you've heard, something you've watched, an experience that you've had, and think about what you've learned from that and the skills that you can draw from it. So we're much more so that level of sort of critically thinking about or reflection on an experience is much more important to us than a great long list of, this is what I've done, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this. That actually, we think that tells us very little about you as a person, and certainly the skills that you have. It's knowing how to, what to draw out from a certain choice experience. That can tell us a lot about the type of person that you are, how you can view things and reflect on that experience. So that's typically what we're looking for. As well as obviously enthusiasm and motivation to study the subject that you said that you want to study. So that's what we're looking for. And oftentimes that will often be backed up by what we read in the reference as well. So we will hear, from your counsellor or school teachers, what type of student you are and what type of learner you are, whether you are, able to read things and react critically to them or form an opinion, those sorts of things. So all that together is what we will look at.
Thank you so much, Joe. There are still so many questions in our Q&A, which we weren't able to entertain. So I will just ask you and request you that, is there any way for our participants to either reach out to you or reach out to UCL if they have any directed questions?
Absolutely. I'm going to write this is our email address for our students who are interested in coming from internationally. Does that come through, that email address?
Yeah, it did.
Did it disappear? It's study@ucl.ac.uk.
That's great. Thank you so much. Thank you, Joe, for all your precious time today and sharing all this information with our all participants. Thank you to all participants for joining this workshop. I apologize we weren't able to go through all of the questions and answers which were posted there. If you have any question, Joe posted the email address as a study@ucl.ac.uk. Thank you so much, everyone. And wherever you are, part of the world, have a wonderful day, have a wonderful evening, have a wonderful night. Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye bye.